Pull up a camp chair, grab a mug of coffee, and settle in. Welcome to This Explainer. I'm your guide today, and we're going to unpack something I know a lot of you dream about, but honestly, very few know how to execute properly. We're talking about buying your own piece of the great outdoors. This is the ultimate outdoorsman's playbook for evaluating world-class recreational and hunting land. It's the ultimate dream, right? Setting up that off-grid base camp, tracking big game on your very own acreage, or just building a quiet little cabin where you can sit by the fire under a clear night sky. But here's the harsh reality. If you don't know exactly what to look for, that dream can quickly turn into a pretty costly nightmare. You might end up buying a barren plot just because it looked good on a satellite map, only to find out later it's a useless patch of dirt that wildlife won't even set foot on. You basically just bought a really expensive rock collection. We're here to make sure that doesn't happen to you. So here's our trail map for today. We're going to cover 1, the wilderness playbook, 2, the big 3 for wildlife, 3, reading topography and terrain, 4, legal access and trails, 5, evaluating land value, and 6, securing your legacy dirt. All right, now you know the route, let's head into the brush. Section 1, the wilderness playbook, leaving the suburbs behind. Our source material makes a really solid point right off the bat. When you're buying acreage out in the wild, the standard real estate rules, they just don't apply. Throw them out the window. The very first thing we need is a complete mindset shift. You're not checking the ratings for local school districts or mapping the drive to the nearest grocery store anymore. Raw land requires a totally different playbook. When you're out there tracking big game or scouting a spot for a cabin, you have to evaluate the terrain, the natural resources, and the surrounding environment. It's a whole new ballgame, folks, and it requires you to read the landscape like a true outdoorsman. Section 2, the big 3 for wildlife, seeing through the animal's eyes. Now, this part is fascinating because it forces us to look at the land directly from the perspective of the animals we want to observe or hunt. Wildlife, whether we're talking about elk, deer, bear, or even small game, they're only going to stick around if a property provides 3 critical elements. Number 1 is natural cover. Animals absolutely need to feel secure. A property that's completely cleared out and flat, that offers 0 security, and animals are only going to pass through there in the dead of night. What you want is dense brush, thick timber, or rugged ravines where they can bed down. Number 2, reliable water sourcing. Water is an absolute magnet. A year-round creek or a seasonal pond instantly elevates the land's value. If it's dry, well, you need terrain that actually allows you to dig a small catchment basin or install a guzzler. And number 3 is forage and food sources. You're looking for diverse vegetation. Think oak trees dropping acorns, native grasses, or a nice flat clearing where you can legally put in a food plot to keep that game coming back season after season. Section 3, reading topography and terrain, navigating the map. Okay, so once you know the wildlife actually has a reason to be there, you've got to understand how the physical shape of the landscape dictates their movement. Animals are a whole lot like us. They are going to take the path of least resistance. And this brings us to funnels and pinch points. These are natural bottlenecks on a topographic map. Imagine a narrow strip of timber connecting 2 much larger wooded areas, or maybe a passable bench tucked between some steep rocky ridges. Wildlife is naturally funneled right through these areas. Spotting these features gives you the absolute perfect layout for placing a strategic game camera or setting up a highly effective hunting blind. It's like finding a highway for game. This whole principle reveals exactly why perfectly uniform, flat ground is actually a huge negative when you're evaluating recreational land. You want varied topography. Here's a pro tip straight from the source material. If you're looking at rugged or mountainous terrain, pay super close attention to the aspect and elevation. South-facing slopes get the most sun during the winter. That makes them prime bedding areas for game trying to stay warm. By reading the topography, you aren't just guessing where the animals might be, you're literally predicting their behavior based on the landscape itself. Section 4, legal access and trails, keys to the gate. Now take a breath, because we're about to look at the single biggest financial trap in raw land. The crucial point the sources make is simply this: legal access is everything. I really want to hammer this home. You could find the most pristine, wildlife-rich hunting paradise in the entire country. It could have all the water, all the cover, the most perfect funnels you've ever seen. But if that property is landlocked by private neighbors with locked gates and hostile no trespassing signs, it is effectively useless to you. Do not let the raw beauty of a property blind you to the stark logistics of actually getting to your base camp. So, let's run through the checklist of how to actually access and move around a property. First up, getting to the property. You absolutely must have a recorded, deeded easement or direct public road frontage so you can pull your truck right up to the boundary without facing a massive legal battle. But hey, it doesn't stop there. Consider how you move around it once you're there. Can you navigate the terrain with a four-wheel drive or an ATV? Are there established trail systems, or are you going to spend your first 3 seasons out there just swinging a machete to clear brush? And importantly, if you are successful and harvest some big game, is the terrain manageable enough to safely pack it out to your truck? These logistical details are exactly what separate a legendary property from an exhausting one. Section 5. Evaluating land value, the elite versus low-value showdown. All right, it's time for the field test to see how a prospective parcel really stacks up. Let's pit the dream property against the nightmare, side by side. On one side, we have the elite tract. It's got diverse topography, ridges, flats, and brushy bottoms. It borders public lands like a national forest or BLM, which, by the way, massively expands your usable space for free. And, of course, it has established access. Now, on the other side, the low-value tract. It's flat. It's featureless, giving animals literally no reason to stick around. It's what we call a subdivision trap, surrounded by dense, small acreage residential lots with heavy human activity that just drives all the game away. And worse, it's landlocked. By keeping this showdown in mind, you're going to know exactly what to avoid when browsing listings. Section 6. Securing your legacy dirt. Real-world application. Let's see how this all builds into a real-world scenario. To put these features into practice, our source material highlights an exceptional example from LandLimited's inventory, a combined double-lot footprint. You see, when you're building a true recreational base camp, small individual lots really just cramp your style. This double-lot setup gives you the elbow room you actually need. You've got room to establish an off-grid cabin site on one end, while leaving the rest of the acreage completely undisturbed for wildlife and hunting. It comes with a strict no landlocked guarantee, so access isn't a headache. And crucially, they highlight flexible owner financing. Look, finding a bank to finance raw dirt is incredibly tough, so finding terms that allow you to secure a premium lot with a low down payment, that's a total game changer. And that financing piece matters immensely for us outdoorsmen. When you utilize flexible owner financing, you get to protect your liquid cash. That means you still have the funds for the things that actually make the land fun, like a high-quality outdoor gear, a new ATV, or the building materials for your dream cabin. Combined with transparent processes backed by robust guarantees, like a 3-day full refund, you're able to buy with total confidence and protect your investment from day one. It's peace of mind, plain and simple. So, what's your next move? Owning a private piece of the wilderness is honestly one of the most fulfilling investments you can make for your family, your peace of mind, and your portfolio. If you take this playbook, prioritizing the big 3 for wildlife, identifying those natural funnels, demanding ironclad legal access, and dodging those featureless subdivision traps, you are going to find an incredible piece of land. So I have to ask, are you ready to stop looking at maps online and start walking your own private acreage? The wild is out there waiting for you. Get out there, apply these principles, and secure your legacy dirt. Thanks for joining me by the fire for this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.